On September 17, 1787, the members of the Continental Congress signed the Constitution for the United States of America and sent it to the states for ratification. If I were to review the state of the Constitution in 2021, I would have to say it's not good. Not good at all. Well, this Constitution for the United States is the oldest national constitution in the world, second only to the Constitution of Massachusetts in age. Decades of ignorance and apathy by the American people have reduced the supreme law of the land to an anachronism, a throwback to a time when rights, freedom, and liberty were important to them. Today, Americans seem more interested in being taken care of than actually exercising their rights. As a matter of fact, the American people have shown they no longer believe in unalienable rights, but only in fulfilling their own narcissistic desires. Does this mean that the Constitution is dead? Only if the American people allow it. So we'll discuss that next on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study. This is where we read and study the Constitution. We teach the rising generation to be free. I'm glad you could join me today. I need to let you know, though, that if you're watching this video on YouTube, well, you may not be able to do so for very much longer. I've gotten my first warning from YouTube. It's not a surprise. But they apparently say I gave some medical misinformation, but absolutely refused to tell me what it was I said that was wrong. Was it the quotes of the CDC's COVID data? Was it the pointing out the peer-reviewed studies? Or what? So, fair warning, Constitution Study may disappear at any time in the near future. So do me a favor, head to rumble.com or constitutionstudy.com. You can watch all of my videos at either website. You can subscribe to me on Rumble, and they'll actually tell you when I bring new videos out. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can get post updates from the Constitution Study, so you'll be notified when I post new videos. But please, head over, let's abandon YouTube. If they're not interested in free speech, let's not be interested in them. Let's go to some place where you'll get your dose of the Constitution without the filters and without threats. So let's talk about Constitution Day. Our national anthem states that we are the land of the free and the home of the brave. Now that freedom is protected by the constitutions of both our states and the United States. Yet the very documents designed to protect our freedoms are being ignored by almost everyone in our society today. Sure, it's easy to point the finger and blame those in government, but those people were either elected by the people or work in an office created by those elected by the people. Businesses and corporations have been denying our rights for years, but we continue to support and do business with them. Worst of all, today, even the American people have shown themselves prepared to deny the rights of their fellow citizens. All it takes is a good fear-based propaganda campaign, and the American people will turn on each other like starving animals on prey. It seems the American people have forgotten the admonition of President Kennedy.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man.
Today, people don't ask what they can do for their country or what they can do for the freedom of man. Now, they not only ask what Washington, D.C. will do for them, but also demand government do for them what they should do for themselves. How can rights, liberty, and freedom survive in a country of subjects, serfs, and slaves to government? The answer is it cannot. As Ronald Reagan said,
"Our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men so advance beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since, evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
The questions I have for the American people on this anniversary of the signing of the Constitution for the United States of America are, will we fight for, protect, and defend freedom in America? Or will we find it too hard, too difficult, and just too much effort? Will we consign freedom to the trash bin of history and explain to our children why it wasn't worth fighting for? Or will we stand and fight, not just for our freedom, not just for the freedom of our children, but for everyone's? See, if, as I believe, the Constitution of the United States is worth fighting for, then I suppose I should take some time to explain why. And I can think of no better place to start than the preamble to this document. A preamble is an introductory statement, usually used to state the reason and intent of the document. So what does its introductory statement say is the reason for the Constitution of the United States? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Let's break this down. The opening and closing words tell us the who and what of this Constitution. We, the people of the United States, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. We, the people of the United States, are the ones who ordained and established this Constitution. Since this Constitution created the federal government, including the legislative, executive, and judicial branches, that means we, the people, created that government. Now, we did so through our states, just read Article 7, which we created through their own constitutions. And as a declaration of independent states, we consented to this government's just powers by ratifying the Constitution and its amendments. As Thomas Jefferson said, the constitutions of most of our states assert that all power is inherent in the people, that they may exercise it by themselves in all cases to which they think themselves competent, as in electing their functionaries, executive and legislative, and deciding by a jury of themselves both fact and law in all judiciary cases in which any fact is involved. Or they may act by representatives freely and equally chosen, that it is the right and duty to be at all times armed, that they are entitled to freedom of person, freedom of religion, freedom of property, and freedom of the press. The American people have been brainwashed into believing that all power exists in government rather than in themselves. Perhaps that's why we have become such a submissive and servile people. We were not taught that we created Congress rather than the other way around. That we created the presidency and the courts. That we created this government to serve us, not to rule over us. That, as President James Garfield said, now more than ever before, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. If it be intelligent, brave, and pure, it is because the people demand these high qualities to represent them in the national legislature. If the next centennial does not find us a great nation, it will be because those who represent the enterprise, the culture, and the morality of the nation do not aid in controlling the political forces. Yet today we joke about the lies politicians tell and the promises we know they will never keep. We watch as those in Congress use their position to get rich while taking the hard-earned livings of the American people like it was their own money in the first place. We stand by while those in Congress continue to borrow against our children's future and spend money they don't have on programs they're not authorized to create, all while debasing the money in your wallet. All this while the American people accept the bribes from both Congress and the President for retirement, health care, provision for their daily needs, and protection from whatever boogeyman is currently on the loose. We forget that whatever Congress does, they do in our name and by our authority. We forget that we are not their servants, they're ours. As President Lincoln said, the people are the rightful masters of both Congresses and courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert it. We the people, after creating this Frankenstein monster of a government and setting it loose on an unsuspecting world, now cower in fear of our creation, unwilling to stand and defend even our own selves. Why did the framers of this union create this Constitution the way they did? What was the purpose that we the people had in mind when we ordained and established it? Well, the preamble states exactly what they had in mind. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We created the Constitution to do 6 things. First, to form a more perfect union. See, our first union under the Articles of Confederation was badly flawed. More of a friendly alliance than a union, the United States of America had no separation of powers between the states and central government, no provision for the central government to enact its duties, and no method of amending the agreement. So the first purpose of the Constitution was to make the Union better. Second, to establish justice. Not the myriad of competing agendas that we refer to as justice today. Not social justice, economic justice, racial justice ad nauseum. Just plain, simple justice. Now, as Noah Webster put it in his 1828 dictionary, the virtue which consists in giving to everyone what is his due. Today, Americans seem more interested in promoting their own special interests above what is right and due to everyone else. The entire idea behind intersectionality, the grievance culture, and the cancel culture today involves depriving others of what they are due and to promote the agenda of one group above another. In other words, to use the language of justice, to deny justice to those we don't like. Third, to ensure domestic tranquility. Now, how's that been working out lately? Granted, the framers of the Constitution were more concerned about fighting between the states than the spate of domestic disturbances which we've endured lately. But even that has failed. Today we have blue states boycotting red states because they don't like some policy or another. We have states suing each other, and not always for injustices done to them, but for laws they do not like. The tension between the coast and Rust Belt states and what they euphemistically call flyover country is an example of the very lack of domestic tranquility that the Constitution was meant to prevent. Fourth, to provide for the common defense. More and more it seems that the only common defense this union will provide for is that of a particular ideology. The government created by this Constitution has abandoned border states to the influx of aliens breaking the laws the federal government created to enter this country. The government of the United States is now shipping these illegal aliens throughout the Union rather than defending the states from them. As George Washington warned us, the alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge natural to party dissension, which in different ages and countries has perpetuated the most hardened minorities, is itself a frightful despotism. This has led to the alternate defense from, then alliance with, those nations who have pledged to do us harm. It seems our common defense is now targeted more on political enemies than actually defending the citizens of this country. Fifth, to promote the general welfare. See, Congress was delegated specific powers to promote the general welfare of the United States. Instead, Congress has taken upon itself to determine what is best for every state, city, and even citizen, using the General Welfare Clause in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1, as the justification for the usurpation of power. Not to be outdone, the President and the federal courts have joined in to establish rules, regulations, and precedents to tell us what is in our best welfare. All of which destroys what is the last reason we created this Constitution: to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. It seems almost all of what government of the United States does today is designed to destroy the blessings of liberty, not secure them. What is this liberty we're talking about? Well, according to Noah Webster, liberty is freedom from restraint in a general sense inapplicable to the body or to the will or mind. The body is at liberty when not confined. The will or mind is at liberty when not checked or controlled. A man enjoys liberty when no physical force operates to restrain his actions or volitions. The government seems hell-bent on telling the American people how to live their lives. Rather than allowing them to live at liberty, it uses physical force to control your actions, your volition, and your very way of thinking. Now, while there has been an undercurrent of this totalitarian destruction of the blessings of liberty for decades, recent events have shown that the government of the United States doesn't believe you should be trusted to live your life at liberty. They believe they have the moral, legal, and constitutional right to dictate to every American how to live, which is the very antithesis of liberty. Now, people ask me if the Constitution has failed. I say the Constitution has not failed us, we have failed the Constitution. As the creators of government, it was our duty to oversee and restrain it from going beyond its delegated powers. In this, the American people have been an abysmal failure. Because we have become the home of the coward, unwilling to stand up to our creation, we have allowed America to become the land of the controlled. We have voluntarily given up our rights as citizens to become slaves to our ever-expanding governments. Yet even in this dark hour for rights, liberty, and freedom, the Constitution is still there to help restore America to the land of the free and the home of the brave. As Alexander Hamilton put it in Federalist Paper number 78, there is no position which depends on clearer principles than that every act of a delegated authority, contrary to the tenor of the commission under which it is exercised, is void. See, if Alexander Hamilton is correct, then it is clear that an act of a delegated authority, contrary to the tenor of its commission, is void. That means the Constitution is the legal justification for the American people to look at their government and say, no. All government actors are exercising a delegated authority. Remember, the Declaration of Independence says that governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. We not only created governments, we commissioned them with certain powers. So when someone in government acts contrary to the tenor of their commission, that act is void. That's not just the opinion of Mr. Hamilton either, since it was confirmed by the Supreme Court in the case Marbury versus Madison. Thus, the particular phraseology of the Constitution of the United States confirms and strengthens the principle supposed to be essential to all written constitutions, that a law repugnant to the Constitution is void, and that courts, as well as other departments, are bound by that instrument. Even federal law recognizes the error of those in government infringing on the rights protected by the Constitution of the United States. Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 242, says, "Whoever, under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom, willfully subjects any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year." So yes, the state of the Constitution in America today is grim. But that's because the American people have been educated into believing they have no power. See, it's only when we, the people, realize that all power is inherent in them and that they are the rightful masters of government will we have a chance of restoring liberty and justice for all. The Constitution and laws of the United States provide the American people with everything we need to return this country to the land of the free. The only question is, are we brave enough to do it? So on this Constitution Day, I want you to consider a couple things. I want you to look at the Constitution as a tool. Like the hammer that's never picked up never drives a nail, or the screwdriver that's never picked up never drives a screw, the Constitution that's never picked up never protects a right. So why are we leaving this tool, readily available, easy to access for everyone to use, why are we leaving it untouched? Could it be we've been brainwashed into thinking that it's too hard, it's too difficult, you'd never understand it, when it's just as simple as picking up a hammer and driving a nail? It's not hard to understand the Constitution. It's not hard to apply and interpret the Constitution. The hard part is being willing to stand up against a government official and say no. That's the scary part. And not all of us will do it. But we need to be willing to support those who do. So here's my challenge to you on this Constitution Day. It is Friday, September 17th. So what I want you to do is promise me this weekend you will read the Constitution of the United States, but you'll do so with a twist. So I want you to have a pad and pencil next to you. And while you read, I want you to create two lists. The first list is everything you read that you didn't recognize before, something new, some clause that you read and something you hadn't thought about. The second list is every question you have. See, that's studying. As you read the Constitution, make those lists. I didn't realize this. Hey, I don't understand this. I have a question about this. Then I want you to go to the next step. You see, twice a month, I have a live Q&A. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to constitutionstudy.com. I want you to find the calendar on the bar on the right, and I want you to click on the Constitution Study Live Q&A. Register, and then show up and ask your questions. See, that's the part I'll do. You come up with the questions, I'll come up with the answers. So bring those questions to the Constitution Study, ask them there at the live Q&A, and then take that information and use it. Just like the apprentice has to learn the right way to use a hammer to avoid bashing their thumb, or the right way to use a screwdriver to not strip the head, all it takes is a little bit of work, a little bit of mentoring, and you can study the Constitution and use it to protect your rights, your family's rights, your neighbor's rights, everyone's rights. But you've got to do the work. It's not hard, doesn't take a lot of time, but you got to do the work. Now, if you want to find out more, go to constitutionstudy.com. All of my articles, all my videos are there. They are free for you to use. They are free for you to share. You can also find me on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. Subscribe to the Constitution Study podcast. If you don't want to watch the videos, you can listen to it on a podcast. You can listen to me on the radio. I'm on America Out Loud 5 days a week, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We talk about the Constitution and news and events related to the Constitution. You can even sign up on the website to have me send you these videos and these articles when I publish them. There are plenty of ways to get this information without being dependent on YouTube and other social media. But let's work together to understand the Constitution and to support each other as we are not only learning, but applying the Constitution of the United States. Now, the best way to do that is head to constitutionscholars.com, register for free, join some of the groups, help support others, and then get support for yourself. It's all there. It's all available for you. And it's all absolutely free. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you celebrate meaningfully this Constitution Day. I have some special programming coming up on the radio program. I did this special video, and I'm going to be at a 917 Society banquet, all celebrating this wonderful document, this wonderful tool that the American people have let get old and rusty. Hopefully, we'll clean it up and use it to protect all of our rights. And then you'll join me here next time for the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from